Nobody in the before the show heard.
That's probably.
But we're cooking it up.
Coming soon, the next episode of Cooking with Tim.
Ooh.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We were talking about that before.
That was good, Roy.
He wants to create his wife wants to create a series on YouTube for it. I said they should do it, but they should also do TikTok, because TikTok is like
TikTok is where
TikTok is where you make money right now.
I'm not famous.
I'm not. TikTok. Well, we don't have enough subscribers to broadcast live on TikTok yet, but I'm not famous on TikTok, but I will be soon. I'm sure of it.
Well, when you guest star on Cooking with Tim, you'll blow up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Cooking with Tim.
I mean, are you talking about literally, like there'll be some crazy situation in the kitchen where Matt will literally explode like a propane thing?
I didn't mean like he'd blow up like social media wise. I meant like literally blow up, because that's about as much as I trust Tim's cooking.
I would tune in to watch that on TikTok, not gonna lie.
Hey, I have a kitchen here at my apartment. We could have Tim over and we could film a professional Cooking with Tim.
Let's plan for this on our next meetup.
I like the idea of cooking cast. Let's do it.
We could have the whole crew on a Cooking with Tim.
I have to consult my producers and see what they think.
I will ask your wife, and she will probably say yes.
She's probably listening, so she could just message us in the chat saying,
"Yeah, Zoe,
yes,
is it okay if we do a Cooking with Tim episode on our next meetup?"
I don't know if she's actually watching.
Only one way to find out.
I don't think she is. I don't see her in the stats. Tell her to get on.
I think Roy's already writing up a message.
Yeah.
I can see it.
No, I'm still playing Slither. I.O. It's in the middle of the game still.
What the hell,
is
Roy?
Slither I.O.?
Let's see. Can we do a cookie? Yeah.
I think it's like parent permission.
It is. How was everybody's weekend?
I bought a cast iron skillet.
We're cooking with Tim.
No!
I like how we segued this back to Cooking with Tim.
I mean, he walked right into it. Like,
I know, I wasn't thinking about that.
Oh my god, that's great.
Oh, I returned my iPhone today. I shipped it away.
That's sad. Are you trying to make me cry?
Bye iPhone. I've got another one right here for work, so it's not entirely gone. I did though back up my home screen, so if I ever
that
do
way
revive,
when you get your new iPhone,
if I ever do switch to iOS, I have a starting plate for everything instead of just starting new.
Exactly.
We'll see.
I have a friend that is a very pro Android guy, very anti Apple person, and he's an IT tech person, and he just got a new job, and they issued him an iPhone for work. So we have been chatting through iMessage nonstop, and it has been glorious.
All the companies love iPhone.
Zoe answered back. She says she thinks it's a great idea. A special on-location episode with special guests.
See? Bam. Look at that. I can even bring down some ice.
And you can bring your cast iron skillet. We can cook ice.
We could make
some ice.
We could make pina coladas with something on the cast iron. There we go.
I do like me some pina coladas. Actually, that's not true. I'm not a big pina colada person.
Disappointing.
What could we cook with ice?
Ice cream?
Hold on.
You could if a recipe calls for water, you can just melt the ice.
Oh, melt the ice. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. Huge brain.
Soup. But you can't really use a cast iron skillet for soup.
We could do it. We could do it live. We could do it live on the Gooply cast.
Zoe suggestion just came from the living room from Zoe. She thinks we should make Lunchables.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
We could even like do the pizza Lunchables and then use the cast iron
Yeah.
to fry them up and
Yeah.
make like
Yeah.
fancy Lunchables.
Oh, holy
I'm
crap!
down.
That's
I'm
like
Does
down
anyone
with
have
that.
an air fryer?
we have.
I have an air fryer. I have an air fryer.
I have one. Come out to Minneapolis. You guys can use mine.
Hey, let's go. Let's go visit
Do a
Joel.
really special on location episode. It's all coming together. So, and I still say we make drinks and we use the cast iron skillet to melt the ice. Because I feel like this first we gotta melt the ice and you throw it in the cast iron skillet.
Oh, that's great. Alrighty, well, that sounds like a
You
plan.
think? I have a food handler's permit still, so like I'm good to go.
Mine's
I don't know
current
that-
too.
How long
Nice.
How long do those last?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, mine's expired.
Yeah, mine's expired.
Do you
too.
know it's a quick online class, and we can stitch it together with your next Cooking with Tim episode.
I'm pretty sure mine was expired when I was still working in produce. I didn't know they
Oh
only
my God.
lasted
That
2
does
years.
not surprise me at all. Actually, now that you
for
say
a
that, mine
long
might
time,
be too.
when I worked in electronics, I refused to do the food handlers permit thing until like HR came down and yelled at me for not renewing it because I'm like, this is so stupid.
Well, yeah,
And
you
so
might
I was
get people coming from like grocery or produce
But
in home
no one
electronics.
I don't think I ever had that. I think I had maybe one person bring veggies one time. That was it.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Then
why
you just
anyone
say,
would
"I'm
wanna
sorry,
bring
I
out, like,
can't ring you up.
lettuce."
I don't have my food handler's permit. Can you go to a checkout line with?"
Except for the
In
food
the
handler's
main-
permit doesn't cover anything for checking out groceries.
Oh,
Like,
then what the hell does he need it?
I never understood the necessity for anybody outside of produce if you're handling any cut foods, the deli, the bakery, and meat and seafood. And I guess Starbucks.
Did the people at the gas station have to have their food handler's permit?
Anybody who's cashier trained had to have it.
I had
Someone
to
in
have it.
Garden
That's not
Center
true.
had to have it.
Oh, did you?
Oh, I don't know.
No, but you were cashier trained.
I was cashier trained. I was also service desk trained too.
And that's why you
Had to
had to
have
have
it.
it because you were cashier
I
trained.
had to have it before. I had to have it before I was cashier trained.
Yeah, but you were going to be cashier trained, right? Like that was
No,
the
it was
plan
even
all
before
along.
that. No, it was all before that. I had to do it when I first applied. I had to sign up for it. I had to do it because I think it's because I don't know, but I don't want to speculate. I'm just assuming because we handled food sometimes when
Mm.
we
People
recovered
might
it
have-
from people.
On the
Yeah,
next episode of Cooking with Tim, Tim gets his food handler's permit.
Yeah. We could screen share the class and he could do it.
Oh, we got to blur out all the answers though, because we don't want to just make it like an answer key for everyone.
As long as I can get the company to reimburse me for it for the $20, then I'll do it.
First of all, I think it's $10.
Is it $10?
at most
And
15.
We're not quite there yet with the ad revenue. So
Oh yeah, we only have $4 for the 4 for 4, so we can't actually technically.
no, we have $4.99 right now.
We're almost halfway there, Tim.
Next year, we'll do it next year.
If that's enough to buy a pack of Pokemon cards, we could actually
Next
like
year on Cooking with
triple our
Tim.
money.
Oh my god.
Everyone wants it.
What'd you do this weekend, Joe?
This weekend I worked. I had my company does a league for Heroes of the Storm, and I direct that. And then
Oh,
nice.
last night, for the first time in 6 months, I went out with a friend, and it was so nice. We went out,
Ooh.
had beers and shots on a patio, just got drunk and had a good time.
Nice.
Yeah, it felt really cool being able to like do real life stuff again. I almost like forgot what it was, what it was like.
Yeah, it is really different getting out there. what did I do this weekend? We went out for a fancy dinner Saturday night at the Met. Um, yeah, which was really expensive and really fun. So the
What'd you
steaks were
have?
all good. A New York strip steak.
Ah, nice.
Uh, they had these fry. Our service wasn't the best. Um, we think the lady forgot to put in our order because it was like late. But then we ended up getting like free dessert, so it was all good. But they they said steak fries on the menu, but then when they bring them out, they're like JoJo's. Like they're not even
Ugh.
steak fries. I'm like, these are JoJo's. Like, don't tell me that they're steak fries.
You got scammed.
So yeah. But anyways, I didn't. I mean, we went there for the steaks, anyways. I mean, who goes there for the fries? Um,
Or you
my
go,
wife
You
go
said
got
the
the
Met, which is like that's a
Metropolitan Grill.
theater.
No, it's Metropolitan Grill.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, no, it was good. So
Yeah, voted best steak in town.
yeah, we're gonna try a couple of other places though. I think next time. But we have like a friends dinner, like a fancy dinner where we all get dressed up and go out. And so we had it scheduled back in what when was it? Back in November, and like that's right when we went back into lockdown and they shut all the restaurants down for in-person dining. And I'm like, if I'm getting a steak and I'm paying, $200, I'm literally not gonna get it to go. Like,
Yeah, you're not trying to mess around. You're trying to have the experience.
yeah. So we canceled it and then we rescheduled it for this year, summer. So
Mm.
yesterday or Saturday was the day. So we did get dressed up. It was nice to get dressed up again and put on fancy shoes. And
I was just about to ask what kind of shoes you wore.
yeah, I wore my Goodfellows. I think they are called Goodfellows, but they were red. They're like a nice red. And then I had a tie, not a tie, but I had a button-up shirt. So, and I just wore. What did I wear? Oh, I just wore some like jeans, pants, and stuff. So, but it was nice. So,
Keeping it
yeah,
casual.
that was my weekend.
What did you do, Carter?
Man, my weekend was compacted into like 2 days because Friday went to go work on my car because it was steaming. There was a coolant leak, so it smelled like pancakes.
I think
like
we
syrup in
really
my
missed
car.
out on that TikTok opportunity with the glasses that we were talking about.
Oh, right, in the steam and just like appearing
Yeah,
with those anime
yeah.
glasses. Yeah.
And just put some like hip hop music or something behind it, and then all the steam coming up from the back, and then you just look out with those glasses on that light up.
Yeah, dude, you should have
Yeah.
destroyed your car for the meme.
My car, my lungs, it would have gone viral. Whatever, that's what's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And then we
Next
could
time.
buy you a new car with. We could have bought you a new car with the
and some
with
black
the money.
market
We could.
loans.
Yeah, we just started We just started a GoFundMe account for it.
See, I just need to take these things around with me so that
Wherever
anytime
you
there's
go.
an opportunity, yeah, wherever I
Yeah.
go, so that in case I can put myself in like
Can you even see
permanent
out of them
damage or danger,
when
I'll
they're
just
on?
put them on. Huh?
Can you see out of them when they're turned on?
Oh, I can't see anything. I can't see anything at all.
It's
I
like-
can like see, the periphery.
Yeah,
can
but you
see
could
up here and down
you couldn't
here.
drive with them on.
I couldn't drive safely, but I could probably make it, a block or two. Which
First
is
of all,
really,
this is America. He can do whatever he wants.
It's
I
freedom
could make
land.
it as long as a TikTok with these glasses on.
Yeah, 15
In a parking
seconds,
lot.
30 seconds.
I appreciate that no one said that's a bad idea. So next TikTok, drive that anime.
I said in a parking lot. Okay, I should at least get points for that.
Oh goodness.
Where I live in Bellevue, there's just like basically there's a straightaway from where I live till like 80% of my drive to work. So I could just put these on in the morning tomorrow, especially if it's like
Did you-
misty.
Did you guys see the TikTok of my shoes?
I
got my
saw
shoes.
your Yoda shoes.
Yeah.
You played that music, which was nice.
Saw the
Yeah,
one
I
of the
got like
dark.
681 views, so I'm not quite there yet. But I did another one the next day with Darth Vader,
I saw that
and I
one.
got 205 views.
That was pretty great.
That was pretty funny, I thought, at least. So, but anyways, Tim, what did you do over the weekend?
Um, I was at the chiropractor office working on a stupid Outlook issue that I couldn't resolve. Um, it was like it's a
Get a
synchronization issue.
Windows or get a Mac machine.
It's a synchronization issue to where and you send an email to someone at a Gmail account and then Outlook will not update. The new email won't come in for another half an hour, but then the times are all correct within Outlook and I tried everything. I disabled
What's their
our
mail server they use?
Gmail and then we use
And
Outlook
then
as
they
the
use
client.
Outlook as the
Yes.
email client?
Yes.
Well, who uses Gmail for a business?
I did
I
not
guess a lot of
design it
places
this far.
Who
But,
uses Gmail for business through Outlook?
We use G Suite. It's for a whole nother thing.
Oh
that
yeah,
I'm
I have
doing.
G Suite. I have G Suite.
Yeah,
because
that's
that's
what
what I
we
use for
use.
my. What? But you guys have your own domain, right?
Correct.
Oh yeah, you should have
Um,
called me up. I could have consulted with you. I know everything about G Suite.
But do you know everything about Out? I think it's an Outlook issue.
I do know how to. I do know how to connect with Outlook. So, are you using the Outlook connector?
Yes. It
Are you
works.
using the latest version of the Outlook connector?
Yes. I think so.
And what's so the times are wrong, or what's not working with it?
So if I send an email from my email address to this user, so let's call it user@gmail.com, just for fun. So I send
Yeah.
user an email. The on the Gmail side, it'll pop up. It'll show up in their new email from Tim. But then in Outlook, it will not show up. If I click resync, it'll scan, but then nothing comes in. Like it's like no new emails, and then like half an hour later, the new email will pop in, but the timestamp will be exactly the same on Gmail. So it's like oh this
Like a
came in.
delayed.
Yeah. So I disabled our we have a pretty good security software. I tried that scans all the incoming emails. It works perfectly fine on every
What's
other
the?
company
Do you know what the
computer.
software is called?
Um ESCT, I think. Me. Yep, it's ESCT. And it scans all the incoming emails, and then I tried disabling that. Will not. Same issue. Uh, and tried. I even uninstalled Outlook. Same problem. I've done. I followed all sorts of different tutorials that I found online. Nothing would work. I thought maybe this particular user has a ton of saved emails in folders, so I thought maybe Outlook is trying to download all those emails in the background. I tried disabling that and just for it to focus on new emails. That did not fix it. It made it go a little quicker, but didn't make the time any faster. Um, next step I think is to contact Microsoft because I have a friend
Well,
at
it wouldn't be
Microsoft that
Microsoft.
does.
It would probably be Google Suites.
You think so?
Or Google. It's called Google Workspace now, by the
I'm
way.
gonna try it on a different workstation. See if that works. I'm gonna try maybe it's something with the computer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a similar issue in my Outlook where my emails don't download unless I press resync, or it takes a really long time for them to come in.
That's another thing. That was
What
I think,
version of Outlook are you using?
the latest. It's 365, so it's whatever the latest build is because I just reinstalled it from scratch. So I'm I need to play with it a little bit more, but the user for now is using what's it called? Just the Gmail web client for now, which works fine.
And it's only that one user?
Yeah, everyone else has no problem, and we're all in a G Suite, and we're all in the same version of Outlook. So I have no idea what it is.
Did we lose our Roy? Is that Roy?
Yeah, he said be right back.
Oh,
I have turned into the new Roy.
you are now Roy.
Because the only thing I can think of is that because they did update the. I can't even find the. I can't even find the
I worked on it for
plugin
like
anymore for it.
5 hours on Saturday and then gave up. This is too much for me for one day.
Yeah.
But I need to do some more research and I'll go back at it this weekend because that always, for some reason, seems to fix everything. Is like taking a week off and then trying again, and that always fixes the
Yeah.
problem. Because last week I couldn't even get into the Gmail account. I changed the password, and then Gmail was or Outlook was like, "This isn't the right password." Yes, it is. It's the same. It's updated the password, and then Outlook refused to work, and then I waited a week and it fixed the issue. So it's one of those. It's the gremlins, I tell you.
Wow, my wife has more email than I do. She's using 3.27 gigabytes, and I'm using 1.62 gigabytes, and I've had mine for years. She's had hers for like 3 or 4 years. She doesn't delete anything though, and she gets hella spam. So
I don't delete anything either. My email. I've had my Gmail for maybe 7 years now.
I think I've had mine for
Probably Titanic.
I think I've had mine for like 13 years, something like that. Been a while.
the other thing is to look into the security settings on there too. But if it's only happening to that one user, I don't think it's the security settings.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna play it around with it more this weekend. Maybe if I set up a new workstation and try and sign in to Outlook on that, I want to see if that happens again, or
Yeah, yeah, it could be. Yeah,
it's
I
one
don't
of
know.
those.
I don't use Outlook, so.
I do have a contact at Microsoft that I have. He has helped me with Windows Server
Bill Gates.
things. Yeah, let's call him Bill Gates.
He might be busy.
He has helped me with Windows Server problems and everything. So let me see if he might be able to get me in hold of someone that knows a little bit.
Well, if you
about
guys have Google Suites or Google Workspace now, you should be able to contact them too,
yeah,
and they should be able to help you.
might do that. A lot of contacting Google. I've had to contact Microsoft before, and they're not really nice on the phone.
Especially when you're not using their email service.
Yeah. Oh, there's a bug on our Windows Server. So at the chiropractor, we have Windows Server 2019. I don't remember the exact version, but it's a $600 server operating system. $600, and you can't go to Control Panel without it freaking out saying you need to be an administrator. But the thing is, I'm signed in as the administrator. You have to right-click Control Panel, click Run as administrator, and then it works. Like, even though I'm the administrator, it's like...
That's why you just don't have a Windows machine or a Windows server. That's why you just use Apple.
Here's the
Like,
thing. The software... I'm not going to go into details about the exact software that we use, but the software that is being used only works on Windows. There's a whole nother like thing behind it. It's not just like
Then you just get Windows Parallel.
No, it's not this easy, man.
I'm telling you, it is.
It's not.
It is. It is absolutely that easy.
I had one of the staff members. I came in on during the weekday. I never come in on a weekday. This time I did for a server thing that had to happen during business hours, and she came up to me and she was like, I got a question for you. I've been hearing rumors that we're switching to an all Mac environment. Can you please tell me that's not happening? And I looked her straight in the eyes. I'm like, we're never gonna have Macs in this office. I promise you.
That's sad.
You should have been like, I cannot tell you that.
So my wife, she had problems with her computer this morning. She has a Dell for work, and it was like it keeps going through Windows updates, and it just fails every time, and it just did it again. And I was yelling at her right before the podcast. I was like, "Tell him to get you a MacBook."
Oh, is
And it
that when
won't
you
happen.
said something about getting us all MacBooks?
No, I told her to get a MacBook. You guys can all fend for yourselves on a MacBook. Not buying everybody a MacBook.
That was really
Just,
sweet of you to
uh,
offer to buy us all MacBooks.
Tell her
Yeah,
to
I'm
put
gonna
an
have to
IT
pass.
ticket
It
in.
doesn't have a touchscreen yet, so.
The only thing I'm taking away from this is you guys getting MacBooks.
And let's go back and listen to what the podcast said. Everybody is not getting a MacBook.
Everybody is getting a MacBook is the only thing I heard.
You guys are lucky you guys just have a gooply.com email address.
I use
threaten
that
to
for my
take that
Panera
away, no.
subscription.
How is that Panera stuff going? Holy crap.
I haven't gotten in forever. I need to cancel it before it auto renews.
That's
about
And
you,
Roy's going
Roy?
to cancel his. He's
Oh,
Yeah.
you
My
done with
wife
it?
tried their coffee. She doesn't really like their coffee, so she's gonna. Because I told her like she should do it, but because she goes to Starbucks every morning and she just gets iced coffee and it's like $4. But I just like, I mean, I just told her to continue to go to Starbucks if that's what she likes. But she did try Panera first, and it just wasn't good. So Starbucks really needs to come out with like an
They're
iced
never-
coffee.
They're never gonna do it because they realize no people are gonna do it, are gonna pay for it, but also those same people are gonna go and spend $4.
If you just
every
get
single
if you
day.
just get like the basic dripped or iced coffee or something like that,
What if they did a Frappuccino subscription service to where you get a free frap?
yeah, people would pay $80 a month for a
man.
So I read an article recently that talked about how Starbucks is like a bank because people just buy gift cards for themselves and for other people, and then they just leave
Yeah, my
money
wife-
on those gift
Oh,
cards.
yeah.
my wife loads
You read that too?
my wife loads her card every day, but she uses it. So
Yeah, because it's one of those things. It's like if someone gives you a Starbucks gift card, are you going to be like, "I'll never, ever, ever, ever use this"? Like, no, probably use this eventually. Starbucks is
Usually-
good enough quality.
I just give it to my wife because
Do you not consume Starbucks?
I don't.
Really?
do you
There's
not do
nothing there
caffeine?
I do soda. So
Coke, Diet Coke.
Yeah, and I have a soda stream too, which is like half the sugar too that you use from it. I need to get back into it, but I used to be really good about it when I worked at Fred Meyer. I would bring it in every morning, or I would bring it in every day. I'd bring in 2 bottles. I'd leave one in the fridge, and I was really good about it. But because it is really like half the sugar that is in Coke, and
You make it twice the caffeine.
no, it's about the same caffeine, I think, but
Okay.
it tastes like generic soda, but it's not bad actually. So, but I do put it in a Starbucks coffee cup, one of the tins because it keeps my ice cold. So when I put my ice in there, and then I pour the soda in there, and the Starbucks cups that are like tin one keeps it very cold. So.
So
There's
the
a,
tumblers they have.
There's a coffee
Tumblers,
place right
yeah.
next to my house. I found out you can get boba put into your Red Bull energy drinks, but it's like you guys know what boba is, right?
The little bursting balls that you can put
Yeah,
in milk tea
But
and
they're
stuff.
not tapioca. They're filled with like fruit juice. So you get like dragon fruit or mango or peach or cantaloupe or whatever. So I got a cherry lime Red Bull soda with some dragon fruit popping bobas in the bottom. It was amazing.
I've never seen Matt Carter so disappointed looking.
Oh, I heard that Coke is discontinuing the cough. What's the one that you tried, Matt?
The dark blend.
Yeah,
I mean,
heard
I've tried
they're
all of them
discontinuing.
now. That
I heard
doesn't
they're
surprise
discontinuing
me. Like,
because
it's not
the-
for anyone.
Yeah.
Like, you
Are you
don't go
disappointed
into.
in my boba, Matt?
I'm not disappointed. I'm just like accepting the reality that like Red Bull and boba have merged. Someone was like, "Yes, these two things go together," and now they're just together, and they'll never be unstuck. It's just a weird time to be living in. I
You
don't
need
know
to
why.
try
It's
it.
just-
All right,
I'm
gentlemen.
sure it'd be good. Like I think it'd be
Time
good.
for the
Always
show. Yes.
El tiempo.
All right, here we go.
Dim the lights.
Clear. 10 seconds. 5. And coming to cams.
And welcome back to the Gooply Cast. We're live right now on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. If you can't make our live show, we have an audio-only version. You can find that on all of your favorite Android and iOS podcasting apps. With us tonight is iPhone Jedi, Matt Evans. Hey, Matt.
I'm here. Hello, everybody.
Awesome. How are you doing?
Good.
Awesome. Also joining us is iMac connoisseur, Roy Slapinski. Hey, Roy.
Is this something we're doing?
What?
Holding
Matt-
up our iPhones. Yeah.
Matt did the
go
same
for it.
thing, so I figured this
Go
is
for
it.
something we're
Oh, no.
doing now.
Yeah.
That's not a
Yeah.
thing. That's just an
No, it's a
awkward
thing now. It's a thing.
an awkward tick you guys have where you carry iPhones around. We also have host of Cooking with Tim Van Claveren. Hey, Tim.
Hello.
Oh,
And dr-
way to just spoil our little pattern there.
Oh no,
Oh,
I'm glad he
wow.
stuck with it. Good job, Tim.
Thanks. I
It's
was
that
gonna
kind of
stick my
innovative
arm.
thinking that'll get you Cooking with Tim
Oh.
viewers.
I was gonna stick my arm up. Now that I have.
I saw you doing that during the intro. I'm very proud of you.
I gotta stretch it.
Yeah, I saw that too. Keep doing it. Row.
Did that happen when you were chefing it out on Cooking with Tim? Is that
Old
spatula arm?
chefing injury.
Yeah.
Yes. I was like,
Oh, that's
And directing the live stream tonight is Joe Meacham. Both a big thanks to Joe, and hey, Joe.
What's up, gamers?
Hey, Joe.
How's everyone doing?
What up?
Doing good. How you doing?
Just chilling, hanging out.
Good. Thank you
Glad to have
thank
you.
you for helping us out.
Of
Very
course.
glad. Tonight we'll be discussing Epic Games versus Apple. They're wrapping up their trial, and we'll go over the last couple weeks and the not super surprising, but very controversial, last little bits of testimony from CEO Tim
It
Cook,
was-
as well as, huh?
I just gonna
What?
say I was shocked at the questioning on Friday between the judge and Tim Cook, and the property, the software that they use and stuff like that. The what is it they called it?
APIs.
Proprietary software or whatever, something like that. But anyways, I was really shocked at that. And if you haven't read the articles from the judge's thing, I'll see if I can find the article. But I thought that was a rough day for Tim Cook.
It was quite direct, the judge. She hadn't really gotten into the trial as much. But I mean, when you have the CEO of one of the most profitable public company that exists right now, I mean, maybe Amazon is technically more profitable now or higher valued, but still, you have the CEO of CEO of Apple on the stand, Tim Cook. You're going to grill him if you can.
Yeah, and here I'll share the link to the article from The Verge in the chat so everybody can read it. But there was a really big exchange between the judge and Tim Cook, and it was just, I mean, it was all about the business model and developers and whether developers are happy and stuff like that, and taking 30% of it, and I mean, just pushing Tim Cook on this. And you have to read the whole exchange, we'd spend the whole day here going through it. But you know, and it's just like at the end, you know, she said, uh, "Have you seen evidence that you know developers are unhappy?" And I think he said, "No, I don't see that." And you know, she questioned him about that, and she said that's something that Phil Schiller would see because Phil Schiller runs you know the App Store and oversees it. So, but
So
I don't know. I've
one of the
Go
things
ahead.
that you just pointed out was the satisfaction with developers piece,
Yeah.
and she did ask Tim Cook basically how she was kind of framing the question as if, okay, Apple does so much for the developers, but she brought out an article that she had read where she heard that 39% of developers were dissatisfied in some way with Apple's engagement with developers. So she was like, well, it doesn't look like Apple has a lot of incentive to solve these issues for developers, solve this dissatisfaction, because 39% isn't a small number. And when you're in an antitrust case, it's like, well, you have complete control of your operating system and you're claiming that you do so much for developers, but it doesn't sound like you have a lot of knowledge, Tim Cook, on the dissatisfaction that you have in your developer ecosystem and a way that you can communicate. He didn't really communicate to the judge specifically what they do to engage with dissatisfied developers. He just kind of like blowed past the question. I think he said that they have a lot of things that make developers feel comfortable there, but I don't remember specifically how he answered that question. I'll have to look.
Yeah, and she pushed them on like the 30%, you know, and how they've gone down to, you know, 15%. And you know, she basically came out and said that wasn't because of competition. That was basically because you didn't want to open up an antitrust lawsuit investigation, you know, and that's the point that she's trying to do. Except for the fact that the same thing, like when Apple did it, Google did it. Google dropped it to 15% for the same people in the small business program. So it, if you, I feel like there is competition because you know there are two phone manufacturers out there. There's Apple and there's Google, like for software at least. You know, there's Android has a lot of different softwares, but there's two giant Play stores. There's the Play Store and there's the App Store, and you know they go competition with each other. You know, and so that is competition. And I disagree with her the fact that you know she doesn't. Obviously, I don't think she thinks that the apps or excuse me the Google Play Store is competition, but it is.
I
Would
think
you
that
guys say that the move that Apple made to reduce the 30% fee to 15% for developers who make, what was it, less than $1 million?
Yeah.
Do you think that Apple did that for without thinking about the litigation that they were going to go under? Do you think they did that? They were going to do that the whole time, that it was completely planned, that the Epic case had nothing to do with it?
I think the Epic case was the catalyst. It may have been something they toyed around with, but I'm almost positive that the Epic lawsuit was either the catalyst or it hurried along this idea they already had. You know, they rolled it out pretty quickly, which makes me think that they at least tossed the idea around.
I think one of the people who was testifying did say that they had planned this reduction in fee since like 2016 or something like that. And I think it might have been Phil Schiller or the guy who opened the MacBook in like a really special secretive way. He might
Oh,
have
Craig Federighi.
it might have been
Craig.
him
Yeah.
who talked about it, and he was like, "Yeah, the Epic Apple trial might have accelerated things, but they did also have it in the back of their mind." So
Well,
that
and
also,
I think COVID might have sped up the process for that because, you know, a
yeah.
lot of developers are really rough right now. People are not spending a lot of money and stuff like that. So some of these smaller end developers, I and I think I shared this too, but Snapchat also came out and said that Snapchat says it's happy to pay Apple's 30% and wouldn't exist without it.
Nobody has
I can.
Snapchat.
I'm just saying,
Well, that's because
Snapchat, you
Snapchat's
know,
a mobile only platform.
It
You know,
is. You're
I
right.
gotta
It
say
is. It
though,
absolutely is.
in response to what you said about Apple directly competing basically with the Google Play Store, I think that there's a completely other way that we can look at it. The let's see, where's my notes? The judge had said that to Epic, because Epic was trying to argue that once consumers buy an iPhone, they're basically locked into the iPhone market, and that Apple no longer competes for their business. I'm going to agree with that, in mainly because the judge follows up and basically says that their formulation, this is a quote, your formulation seems to ignore the reality that customers choose an ecosystem. It's Apple's business strategy to create a particular kind of ecosystem that is incredibly attractive to its purchasers and its consumers. And then she basically goes on to say that if the court were to change that ecosystem by allowing more competition, that it would, quote, destroy the ecosystem in which they have made a choice to enter. So I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think the App Store needs to compete with the Google Play Store. What you're really looking at is Apple's phone competing with Android's phone, and with the person who buys into whichever operating system they buy into, whichever phone they buy into, they no longer need to be competed. The app stores are no longer needing to compete for their business. It was the phone, it was the OS that competed for their business. And that Apple doesn't have to be competitive with the App Store versus Google because they've already won their customer over. The App Store was just a byproduct of
But
them purchasing an iPhone. Like, what I'm saying is the fact of
here's
the, the App Store doesn't need to be competitive with the Google Play Store because it was the phone that was competitive and the
That's
phone
what
that
the
brought the
customer
person over.
purchased initially. That was the holistic product that Apple is trying to sell to people. That's
Correct.
like, this is the whole package. You get this closed ecosystem, and people seem to be choosing that, and it seems to be really popular
Correct.
versus the
People chose
yeah.
the ecosystem. It doesn't matter whether the App Store is competitive with the Google Play Store. I'm saying this in defense of Apple. I think Epic's 100% correct when they say that Apple no longer needs to compete for their customers' business. They've already won their customers' business. Why do they need to be competitive? That's like saying you bought yourself a Dyson vacuum. I need to continue to compete for your business. No, you already have my product. Why do I need to compete for your business?
Yeah, and if you have that
You see
Dyson
what I'm saying?
vacuum, you can sell like accessories to it that are specific for that vacuum. You don't have to support third-party accessories for that vacuum if you don't want to. You can say, if you go in and put in like a new motor to my Dyson vacuum, well, now I'm not going to warranty that anymore. Because I think you can also jailbreak iPhones and on third-party apps and stuff, and Apple can say, well, you change the way that our product works in a way that we have specified we're not going to support anymore. You're free to do that since it's your device, but we will no longer support you and your efforts with that device. So they just wash their hands of it and they go away.
Well,
Yeah.
so I look at it in a couple
Yeah.
different ways. I see Roy's explanation on it, but I think of it competition wise because I feel like there still is competition with the App Store. There are certain apps that are only available on the iPhone. They're only available on the App Store, and one of the things that keeps me all like hands down won't go to Android is Fantastical. Like I have never found a replacement calendar app to something that's equivalent to Fantastical on the Android ecosystem and the Android Play Store. Like, and they are not gonna shift away from that. You know, 1Password for a long time was available only on the iPhone, branched off. Now they're available on Windows, every platform, because they have to be there. But there's certain apps and there's certain productivity apps that are only available on the iPhone, and that will probably never come to the Android ecosystem. So you know when you sell that to developers and you sell that um, to the App Store platform, I mean, you're keeping business by keeping those developers there. Um, I think it again comes, but the overall thing is I think it comes down to is the developers. The developers make the App Store. Apple makes lots of software and tools for developers. The developer portal is massive. There are massive amounts of APIs,
They
more
said
than
they
we
have
could ever
like
talk about.
150,000 or something like that
Yeah,
APIs that
there
they
are
maintain
massive
and support.
APIs and that they
Yeah.
maintain and support. And if we've seen anything, APIs are strong and hard to make. Twitter's been making a new API for third-party developers of Twitter applications. Something that they've kind of neglected over the years, and we've seen it. It takes a while for that. Notion, which is another popular app, has been working on a API for months. I mean, almost a year, I think. And they finally just released their APIs. APIs take a lot of people to update. Apple goes into every basically application that's submitted to the App Store and reviews it for spamware, malware, and stuff that's going to deflate your battery, make it not working. Stuff that could destroy your phone, to make sure that that's safe to use on the iPhone. And they have, I think they said, some of 500 people who review apps. And just from my experience in submitting apps to the App Store, I've only waited about 2 days to get an app thing approved. I know some developers have said it's taken up to 7 days, and I think that could be in some cases when they have a big launch and stuff like that. Trying to, but my experience has been 2 days. For the last few years. So I think that Apple has really improved their relationships and trying to get the app stores pushed out. But this is all software that we will essentially pay for. If let's just theorize that the judge sides with Epic, okay? Appeals go on and on and on. Okay, so Apple loses.
Given.
Let's say that. We used to pay for software updates for the Mac. Like Mac software, if you wanted to upgrade every year, you had to pay for that, just like you did for Windows. Like, I don't know, do you guys still pay for Windows updates?
No, they're like all free now.
Yeah, like we've
Basically,
seen a
Windows
lot
10
of
is free.
Yeah, so if you have Windows 10, you just keep upgrading with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing that we do with Mac OS. We don't pay for that. We don't pay for that, software update. And so what I think overall is, if Apple loses and we go back to this system, we're going to start paying for software updates. Very well could happen. Not going to say it's a for sure thing, but we could go back to paying for software updates. We may only get security upgrades for iOS. We could just get security updates, and if we want to upgrade to, for example, iOS 15 comes out this year. If we wanted to upgrade to the newest and latest features that are in iOS 15, we would have to pay for that update.
Or buy a new phone altogether.
That's a very, or buy a new phone altogether and get the software. But I feel like that's a very strong possibility. And then the developer tools that we use for developers, they could again start charging for that. We could end up paying a lot more money to develop apps. For example, if you want to use certain APIs, you could have to pay like a threshold for different APIs. I feel like this could be really bad for developers because Apple really does spend a lot of money, I think, on developers, and I think Google does the same thing. They don't go as far as Apple does, but
with Apple, it was like the number sounds insane in my head, but I want to say they spent like $20 billion. I think they
50 million. 50 million.
50 million. I think in 2020 they spent like maybe $2 billion on supporting developers or something like that. So not an insignificant amount of money.
But like it was for the developer conference that's held every year. Obviously not this year and last year because this is all a virtual event right now. But Apple invites developers to come to the conference. You do have to pay for it. It's I think it's a couple $1,000s, but so you do have to pay to go. Oh,
sorry, they spent $18.75 billion on research and development in 2020. So that's the number that I had.
Got it.
Which is money that they've earned from high profits on phones to the amount of money that they get from the App Store, which they make a good App Store, so they make a lot of money.
Yeah. And the other thing too, and I don't think Google has this because when you log into the App Store, you have developers, you have people who write content featuring your apps. They have awards that they give out for best design apps and stuff like that, and they feature those on the front of the App Store. So when you log in, and if you develop a great app, then you could get featured on that. Like developers could write out and start writing an article, a blog article, and feature your apps. Best one of them that comes to mind is like there's third party mail apps, mail clients for your iPhone and for your Mac, and they have a bunch of articles on there shelling out all these mail apps, and they're not featuring their own mail app. I mean, they haven't really done much with it in a few years, but like they're featuring these other developers who have spent a lot of time in developing apps, and put a lot of money into and time into their designs. So
I don't think anybody questions how much Apple does for. Well, so I think people do question how much of the money that Apple gets from the App Store goes back into the App Store, and how much Apple spends on supporting the App Store really goes to what people might actually want. Because I think what Epic is trying to do is say, we can have a store that sells things, a digital store that sells digital goods, and we'll take 12% from it. That's the number that we think is reasonable, so Apple should be doing that too. But also, Epic is trying to say, well, we shouldn't have to use the Apple payment processing system, which winds up charging us 30%. We should just be able to use some random third-party payment system that isn't as secure as Apple's payment system, that doesn't charge a service fee for running the App Store. They might only charge like the Visa processing fee, which is like 3, maybe 5%. But even Epic is asking for two different things there. They want to pay basically no fees. They only want to pay the fees for processing the credit card, and they don't want to pay the additional support fees that Apple charges. But then again, on their store, on the Epic Game Store, they're also charging a service fee. They also do some of the things that you're talking about that the App Store does, where they help developers and they support them. They feature content on their store. So Apple's like basic ask, which is, we want to pay less because we think you don't do anything, Apple, is like routed by the fact that they're also charging a random amount for a service that they think is fair, which is 12%. And Apple.
Go ahead, finish.
I was just going to say, and Apple arguably provides a much more comprehensive service, having their own hardware and their own larger ecosystem where all of these things operate. So Epic only having a game store, it makes sense for them to charge a small fee of like 12%, whereas Apple is running a super huge app store with a lot of competing interests, a lot of different types of applications, plus all of these applications can feed into multiple different types of hardware. They have Apple TV, the Apple Watch, the phones, the Mac, and they're always researching and investing in how to make all of these things more efficient, more secure, and just smoother for everyone, that it starts to look like them charging 30% is paying for a significant amount of benefit to developers, like what you're saying.
So one of the things that came to mind, and when we were talking about this and what you were mentioning about like third-party payment systems and stuff too, and this came up, I think, during, I'm not sure if it was during Phil's comment or Craig's comment in there, but one of them said, was asked, I think, by the judge, do you think there's too much spam on the Mac? And whoever's asked the question said yes. Like, and that's pretty much what it is. Like, there's a lot of spam. There's viruses that can infect your Mac. A lot of people have said for a long time that the Mac doesn't get viruses, but it can. It can get viruses. It can get malware. I've seen it happen before. And that's what you do when you open up for different Play stores and different options for side loading apps or installing apps without going through the App Store. And I'm not saying that they should go back and change that, but Apple has tried to done a lot to restrict only maps from the App Store to be installed, you now have to go into privacy settings into your Mac and actually allow to sell third party or to install third party apps. And it's something you have to do like every time you install an app that doesn't have a security authentication from Apple that allows you to do it. So yeah, so definitely it's something that Apple should do, and try to eliminate the spam. But I feel like if they do this to the App Store or the iPhone, it's just going to get boggled down with garbage and everything else.
At the end of the day, if Epic wins this and Apple has to allow third-party app stores or reduce their fees or something, anything that could cause Apple to lose revenue over this, let's be 120% clear on this. If capitalism has taught us anything, it's that Apple's not going to lose that money. They will find another way to get that money back, whether it be charging higher prices for other things, charging more money for developers to get their developer license. Apple finds some way to make that loss up. And in my opinion, any way that Apple could make that loss up is going to hurt the end user most of all.
And that was something that the judge was really asking about, kind of probing everyone that was on trial. She was just kind of trying to figure out if some kind of change, like what you're suggesting, if Epic wins and maybe there's a reduction in how much Apple charges, or perhaps someone can circumvent the App Store altogether, how is the consumer or customer or end user going to be affected by that kind of change? And it seems like she was really drilling Tim Cook and really just everyone else when she had the opportunity to, for answers on that very question. Like, what do you guys do? What are you offering? What are you claiming? How do you handle when something goes wrong? You guys are talking a lot about privacy. Tell me more about that. So it seems like she's really aware that if this down the line does affect Apple in a negative way, she's very aware of what the consequences could be, which is it might cost the customer more, or they might lose out on privacy, or they might lose out on what Apple is offering as a product that you were talking about, Matt, which is like this complete experience that Apple curates and sells as a product.
And that's what I'm saying is paid software updates could come back, because at the end of the day, too, when you look at this, and I think one of the Apple lawyers, said this in their closing arguments, and if you take Epic's definition, Apple is a monopolist, and so is Xbox. Everyone is a monopolist, developers across things, and that's what it is.
Everybody that has an app store.
You look at this, everybody who has an app store. So if you look at this, Windows, Google, Xbox, PlayStation, here, where do we end? Like, this could honestly be, a game changer across the board on how the judge rules. And
it would be detrimental.
It would be, and that's what I'm saying. The things that we've come to expect from Apple, from Windows, from Google, we could start seeing paid for across the board, and that's what I'm afraid for, because I don't want to go back to paid software updates. Like, it used to be like $99, I think, at one point, and then it dropped down to like $59 or something like that, or $29. I don't know. But anyways, that's a cost you have to expense every year. And people don't want to spend money on
Windows,
software updates.
so I don't really notice. Just gotta say.
But I'm just saying, you used to have to pay for software updates on Windows. I do know that, because when you were on Windows 98, you used to have to pay for an upgrade version, right?
Like Service Pack 2, not Service Pack 2, but you'd have to pay for like whatever, like Half-Life version or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you had Windows 8, and you wanted Windows 10, you could buy an upgrade version for it.
It was free for a while.
It was free for a while, I think, because they had so much issues. But the same thing with Windows 95, you upgraded to Windows XP, upgraded from Windows XP to Windows Windows 7, Windows 7 to Windows 8. Like there was a cost at there, and now you guys don't have that cost anymore. So, like that's honestly something that I mean we definitely could see
You know the
if this comes back.
the reason why Microsoft was pushing Windows 10 to be free so much was because they were focused on Windows App Store numbers. They were like, "Hey, developer, come to the Windows App Store because we have this many users who are registered to own Windows 10." And that's when you get that amount of numbers, that's almost close to competing, not exactly, but close to competing with other app stores out there. So that's pretty much why they wanted to push that, is because they wanted developers to see, oh, hey, if I develop for this platform, that's a lot of people that can download my app. It's a direct competition to Apple.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and then you think of Xbox too. Like what could happen with Xbox, and PlayStation. I
Epic
don't
is
know.
certainly thinking about that. There's at every chance they get, they're trying to, because one of the issues in this trial is that Epic is trying to say the market that Apple has monopoly over, that they're using illegally, is in-app payment processing. The thing that triggered this whole trial was Epic wanting to reduce the cost of V-Bucks to $7.99 and circumvent Apple's in-app payment by routing customers to the Epic website or whatever to have them pay there and then sending them back into Fortnite. So they're
Yeah.
specifically trying to be like, no, judge, video game consoles, those don't compete in the same market. The market is within an iPhone, within iOS, within the App Store, within the app that you may have already bought. It's the transaction that you're trying to make and how Apple processes that payment that we have an issue with. So they're very specifically trying to like not piss off consoles, because if the judge is like, well, no, you seem to really not like ecosystems that are closed, just like the Switch, just like the Xbox, just like the PlayStation, isn't that really the problem? Like, you can't get anything else, any other software onto this hardware? Isn't that what we're trying to fight here? Like, no, just payment processing. Because if you blow open this walled garden, there's nothing stopping you from blowing up every walled garden everywhere, and then it's just chaos.
If we've know anything,
And
about legal cases, is once there's a ruling on a case, especially a federal case, it sets a precedent for every other case that comes after it. You can use it as precedent and use it to rule in your favor. So ruling in Epic's favor on this, yeah, sure, Epic may only be focused on Apple at this point, and they may not even go after anybody else. But somebody else might go after Microsoft and Xbox in the future, and they can be like, "Well, an Apple or an
absolutely,
Epic v.
absolutely.
Apple,
If
this was ruled, in Epic's favor because of XYZ," and that's the same exact instances going on here. I mean, it sets a, I don't want to say dangerous precedent, but it could set a precedence that could be like a house of cards that just is going to cause this whole thing to tumble down. And nobody here, not Epic, not Apple, not the judge, nobody can really realize what consequences could come about from this.
I think
And
that
I don't.
during the go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I don't see any positive outcomes in the long run. I can see some short-term positives. Yeah, some short term positives are Epic gains some extra money. But in the long run, this could hurt developers, like Matt said. Developers could have to pay more for their APIs for different tiers. The end users could pay for. I mean, I see more negative long-term effects than I see any positive long-term effects. Any positives that are only going to be gained in the short term.
Are you guys aware of the issue that like Microsoft and cloud gaming services are having with trying to get cloud gaming services on the App Store? How do you guys feel about Apple's unwillingness to allow
well,
cloud services onto their App
and
Store when they
that's
allow
what
things like Netflix and Roblox?
Well, and that's what I disagree with Apple on that part. I flat out disagree. The video games have a rating system. They should develop software. They should develop the parent controls into the App Store with APIs that these developers can use to set parent controls to what games can be played. The games get rated by a third party vendor,
ESRB.
and yeah, and the vendor then rates what that is. So requiring these cloud gaming services to have rated games based on the age that they are appropriate for should be built into that, and then they can be brought into it. I strongly agree that that is the way that Apple and Google should go with bringing cloud gaming into the app stores and stuff like that. I think that's a fair assessment to do because Netflix has parent controls. Most streaming services has parent controls. I feel like I think that's a fair argument to give, and I would be interested to hear what Apple would counter with that, on why they wouldn't do that because I think that would be good for developers.
Is literally no different than using Hulu or Netflix. It really isn't.
And they all have parental controls in it. So, like, why not allow developers to,
And an already established
add
rating
parental
system.
controls in? Yeah, exactly. Apple actually, you know, says that they're. I can't remember where I read this, but they tout that the iPhone is more safer and secure for kids, use because you can't sideload apps on there. The Play Store or the Mac Store or the App Store is really regulated. They check every app, and stuff like that. They make sure that if it's not appropriate for kids, that's in there, and that people can't download those parental controls because they go through an app review process. That doesn't happen necessarily with Google. So, I mean, when you look at that, that's a strong case to make. Hey, this is a great place for cloud gaming if you want to bring your kid to iPhone, and that could sell more iPhones by having popular parental controls built into the iOS system and allowed to use by game developers for cloud gaming.
Absolutely.
And this is all technology that they've built up since the initiation of the App Store, where they began charging 30% right when the App Store came out. In-app payments did not really occur. I was listening to someone in the trial talk about how there were some apps when the App Store kind of came out and started gaining popularity where developers were charging people inside of their app, but Apple didn't have an in-app payment processing like API and system. So Apple was actually suggesting at the time was like, hey, use a web browser to go or kick your users out of our app store, out of your app, kind of like separate our platform from what you're trying to do, have them make whatever purchase on a web browser, and then go back into the app and do whatever you need to do. And then eventually they came out with in-app payment processing, their own API, their own system, and are now requiring developers to do that. So do you guys think that since Epic is kind of looking for a way to circumvent in-app payment processing, that it can be done on like a web browser, do you think that Apple could go back to that for developers who might want to? Do you think that they should allow developers to advertise, like, go to Safari and do this if you really want to save money? How do you guys feel about that?
Well, I don't. I mean, because if you're trying to, you're essentially saying you can load an app through the Safari or Chrome or whatever, and that's what you can do with the Mac. But when you do that, like you don't have the same privacy controls that you have in there. So, for example, if you do that, people could download third party apps that are not approved in the App Store. So, for example, porn could create an app that you could download through Safari and essentially load onto your computer, and then where do the parental controls come into? So I think that hurts. I think that hurts the iPhone itself and the App Store itself. So I would be definitely, if people want to develop apps, web apps, they can do so with the web, and not have to load a third-party app. Yeah, you don't have the same controls that you do over it, but at the same time, you pay, like when you launch an app in the App Store, you're using APIs that are developed for the iPhone. And those are software that you do. So you pay for that. With a developer account, with
What if
Go
it was
ahead.
just like buying? What if it was just getting a Netflix subscription? What if you go into something like Netflix, and Netflix
Well,
is
and I
like,
think
"Hey,
that
we
was I
want
think
you to
that I
use this button, buy this thing." Or if it was Fortnite, "Hey, we don't want you to use Apple's payment processing system. Here's a button, click that, kicks you out to Safari. You buy your V-Bucks, your skins, or whatever. You hop back into the app, you have fun."
I don't think that
exactly.
they
And
should
I
have the
think that
ability
uh,
to. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I don't think that that's the right avenue to do, because the one thing about privacy and with the iPhone is that it it's private, it's secure, and when you launch third party apps, and tell them to go, you know, download this from this site. Okay, yeah, we all trust Hulu, we all trust, Epic, and some of those games. But when you open that up to other developers that can do that, they can take advantage of other customers and spam them, and then take their money essentially. If when you have it controlled in the App Store, the it goes to so when you request a refund, it goes to Apple. Apple makes the decision on behalf of the developers whether to give the money back or not. And so but they look at the developer reasons too. Like if you don't have a good reason, and their reasons are outlined in probably articles of knowledge on what validates a refund, and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure it's shared with developers. But if you accidentally download an app, there was an app on the App Store years ago, and it was an app that did absolutely nothing, and it was $1,000.
Oh, one of
It was
those,
a
yeah.
$1,000 in-app purchase. And how many people downloaded that just to see what it did? 7 people downloaded that app, I think, and it absolutely did nothing. If they had done that through a website and didn't get their money back, then
Mm,
like what? Like, I mean,
that's true.
so
If they had
I
done that
think that
in-app payment
so if they had
purchasing, they
done
went out
that,
to the website.
or they went out to a website and signed up for a license for it to do this, and then they come back into the store and that app does nothing that it says it does, there's no recourse for them to get a refund because they did it
Oh,
on this third party site.
Or
what
if go ahead.
I was gonna say that my whole viewpoint and philosophy on that is like say you're Netflix, whatever, enter a random app here. We're gonna use Netflix in my example. You go to Netflix and you need a subscription for Netflix. You can choose to buy your Netflix subscription through the in-app purchase, or Netflix gives you the option of opening up a browser, going to netflix.com, and you have to go to the browser yourself. It's not going to route you through the browser. You have to go through the browser yourself, go to netflix.com, and purchase a subscription there. And Netflix can make it more worth your while, and the subscription's $2 cheaper or whatever. I don't care. There needs to be a disclaimer pop-up that says somewhere that, by going through the developer's website for this purchase, your subscription, your purchase is not secure through Apple's payment process, yada yada yada, legal garbage, jargon there. Like for what Matt said, to protect the purchaser from possibly some malicious intent. But it also gives the developer a chance to not have to use the in-app purchase system, and then it's up to the consumer whether or not they want to take the inconvenient route to go to the browser to save whatever money they may or may not save, or use the convenient, secure transaction that Apple's built into the API.
And
I think that's the sweet spot, personally.
yeah. And another thing that I was thinking about is, let's say you don't have to use Apple's payment system anymore for in-app purchases. And apps you can decide what payment system your users use. Now let's say you're using the Walmart app to order stuff. Now, these big stores, companies, not as much anymore, but they used to get hacked a lot and would lose customer data. a lot. It doesn't happen anymore as much, but it did for a long time. Now, let's say Walmart gets hacked and you lose all your payment data and you weren't using Apple Pay to pay through that. Some people, not everyone, some people might look at Apple and think, hey, this is Apple's fault. I was using an iPhone when I paid, so this is Apple's fault, even though it is not, because Apple allows this. So part of me thinks this is also something to save Apple's reputation, and because Apple's huge on privacy and security, and they're very much for it, and that's why they force you to use Apple Pay for everything, because they know it's secure and they can control it.
It's funny, use the same analogy that you had there versus what I had when we were talking about right to repair and how iPhones blow up and Apple takes a hit for it because it is exactly the same.
He's got you there, Tim.
Use my same analogy because Apple takes a PR hit, because of that. And that is the exact same analogy to right to repair. I just want to point that out. We can move on, but I just want to point that out that is my same assumption. So
I don't think Apple would get as big of a PR hit as you think they would, though, Tim. I think that if you're buying from Target or Walmart and they have a data breach, that's usually all over the news. Walmart's been hacked. Customer data has been breached. It's not. I don't think anybody would think that it's an Apple or a Google or a Samsung App Store problem. I don't think you're completely wrong. There's going to be, the onesies, twosies here that do believe that, and it will hurt Apple's reputation. I just don't think that it would be widespread enough to be a PR problem.
But what if also Apple loosened up of the apps that they allowed onto their platform? For example, an app called Legit TV.
If you went and paid $1,000 for an app that did absolutely nothing that Apple let onto their app store, then absolutely you could, in my opinion, you could hold Apple accountable. Unless the app store description says, hey, this app does absolutely nothing. You are paying $1,000 for nothing. Like, unless they spelled it out for the customer that you are being stupid if you buy this.
Well, and
Apple can 100%.
I absolutely think that's what happened, and that's what was described in the app. I'd have to go back and look at the description.
No, I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that's what was described.
The people who did it got a refund because it was securely purchased through the App Store and had protections in there from developers. You have to develop an app that does something. How that app made it on the App Store, who knows? But that was early days. That was early days. They go through a lot of process. They go through a lot of scrutiny for apps, and apps sometimes get approved and then they get pulled and yanked because we find out that they did something wrong. But I think, like Tim said, like when you open up this platform to another system, like you're creating the opportunity for fraud, you're creating the opportunity for theft, you're creating the opportunity to lose your data, and your data
Tim
is
does
secure.
bring up a good point. That I think if you use Target or Walmart or Uber or like Lyft or those places, those have their own payment processing systems where you're not going through Apple Secure Payment.
You're right.
It's not an in-app purchase.
It's not an in-app purchase, but when you do an in-app purchase, like, you are secure, and you have the protection and the privacy, and you have the ability to get a refund if you deserve one. And again, it all comes down to what Apple dictates, but they also look at developers and what could this be wrong. Accidental purchases, that happens all the time where people do it. It doesn't mean that you can only do an accidental purchase once, and then you're stuck on the hook for it the next time. So, and they send out reasons, like how to protect your phone. So, if your kids get on it, that they can't, download apps, and stuff like that. So, I think if, like Matt said, if you open that up, you're opening it up to a lot of fraud, theft, and other malware issues that you could develop on an iPhone.
While we're on that topic, I really wish that Apple would make it so that if you develop an app, like Target, Walmart, where you're going to purchase something online and enter your credit card information here. There needs to be an automatic Apple Pay button on that. Not all apps have it. All apps need it because it is, in my opinion, so much more convenient and so much more secure. And I wish that Apple would be like, you can have enter your MasterCard, Visa, credit card information, or you can do Apple Pay, and they need to give that option to the customers.
I agree. I agree with that, but like most places aren't gonna do that. I'm interested to hear from the one person who has been very quiet during this, and that's Joe. Do you have any comments or thoughts, Joe, on what we've talked about?
I don't. This is all very interesting to think about. I hope that we don't go back to a world in which you have to pay for software updates. That was my main takeaway from all of this. I do not want to pay to upgrade my Windows if I have a Windows 10 machine, because that was super dope when I got to upgrade it for free. And
yeah, and think of that. This could be a monumental case where we change things across the board for software and developers. So I hope that developers know what they're getting into when they want to. I mean, nobody's really signed on to this, and I know that. Let me see if I can find where it was. But the judge said, well, Apple is not only being sued by Epic, it's also being sued by a class of developers, is what the judge said. It's not just Mr. Sweeney.
Yeah.
I
don't know if that's the Coalition for App Fairness, but they're also being investigated in Europe for antitrust stuff, and the United States government, like Congress, investigated them recently. So, like, Epic picked a convenient and probably very targeted time to just throw more stress onto the Apple bonfire.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll absolutely be interesting to see what happens. The case closed with closing arguments today. When could we see a verdict? Maybe 3 weeks?
3 months. Like
3 months?
She said she was hoping to
6
see one
months?
on August, and she mentioned the exact date that Epic's license got pulled from the App Store, which was kind of funny. She said she was hoping to see an verdict by like August 19th or whatever date it was.
That's like Thanos telling Loki no resurrections this time. That's fantastic.
So, regardless to whatever we see, so let's say Apple loses. Okay, no doubt about it that Apple is already working on appeals. They have a team of lawyers probably sitting in Apple Park right now, or at home, or wherever they're working right now. But they're probably working on avenues for an appeal. And an appeal will be filed immediately after if they lose. And this will again go on and go on and go on. And we're, again, just because the judge rules doesn't mean that Epic Games is going to come back to Fortnite's going to come back to the App Store. This could, again, lead on for longer periods of time. And, I mean, who knows where this is going to go? If the Justice Department tries to intervene and open up a antitrust investigation, which I don't think that, it's an antitrust case, but I mean, that's just my thoughts, and I guess we'll see where we go. I just don't want to go back to the old ways.
The one thing that I like about this trial is that even if, regardless of what happens, this is like excavated so much interesting internal operations of Apple, where you have like Tim Cook and Craig Federighi making statements about what they believe Apple is weak at. You have the judge asking really pointed questions about Apple's closed ecosystem business model and whether or not they're really taking care of people. I'm very curious to see who in the future that is targeting Apple today will use stuff from this case and all of the other cases that are going on right now at this time to in the future bring some kind of giant playbook of anti-Apple like courtroom cases and figure out something to take Apple down, because it seems like people really want it to happen regardless of whether or not you like Apple or hate Apple. There are a lot of people that want to see Apple broken up or reduced in some way because they're taking in quite a bit of money.
Hey, Joe, are you able to pull up this link and share it on the screen that I just put in the Discord chat?
Yeah, give me a second.
So I want to point out, Craig is all about his hair. So if you've ever watched an Apple event, he's all about his hair, he's all about his personality. But it just like take the image that Getty Image got, from this trial, and like this was just a I mean, just the way that he waved to the cameras and waved to the image, it's just amazing. Like I really like that guy. This is the guy that opened the MacBook, Matt. When he was down in the lab. So
Yep. And that nice, what was it, like light pink glow that emitted into his face, and then he had that
Yeah.
like look of glee, like what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And then
I don't know if we need to be
MKBHD like
reminded of that.
replicated it. It's like, oh, here we go.
Here we go. I mean,
I'm gonna
just
do
look
that.
at that. Just look at that picture. Like, I mean, he's such a personality person when he does things like this, and when he did the pop open, and then he did the wave, outside the trial. Like, I'm assuming this is outside the trial. But yeah, it just
He looks
just
very personal.
found it very
Hey.
yeah. Anyways, any final thoughts? Any closing arguments for Apple or Epic?
Rip Epic. I can't see them getting back onto iOS. I mean, actually, if after all of this, Apple is like so committed to being the, I don't know, arbiter of fairness in their app store, like for some reason they feel responsible for all of this in some way or something like that, and they take Epic Games back. They're like, hey, we're still willing to accept you as long as you take out that hot fix. I'm looking forward to that ending. I think that would be pretty fantastic. Because then it
That would
would
be
be over.
That would be a
I do have something important. I think we should take a moment of silence for all of the poor children who are no longer able to play Fortnite on mommy's cell phone. They're going through it right now.
All right, let's take a moment of silence right now. Okay, that's over with.
That's all they need.
If the judge rules in favor of Epic, I'm willing to bet she has a kid or I don't know how old this judge is, kid or grandkid that plays Fortnite on an iPhone.
That would just not shut up about it.
I'm like, okay, fine. Epic wins. Will you leave me alone about it?
I mean, that's the contract, right? You give your kids the thing that they want, and then they quiet down in the house. That's what you do.
And then Apple files an appeal. Apple finds out about it and files an appeal that the judge ruled based on, to satisfy her children or grandchildren.
Corporate espionage is real.
Anyways, it'll be interesting to see. And then what happens here? Do we go towards? Does Epic take Google to court and do the same thing?
And then they take Sony, and then they get everything they want from Sony, and then they take Nintendo, and then they get everything they want from Nintendo, and then I don't know, they probably leave Microsoft alone because they seem to be buddies.
And Tim Sweeney runs for president.
Oh,
Epic takes over the
God
world.
help us, no. God help us, no.
He tours the country on the battle bus.
Oh no!
Where we
His running mate is a banana in a suit.
Here's the thing too. Here's the thing that I want to leave everybody with. If you learned anything about this trial, it's Epic is not fighting for developers. Epic is not fighting for the little people. We learned that throughout this trial when Tim Sweeney said if he was offered a special deal from Apple, he would have taken it. And that's what I think this is about for him. He wants a special deal. He wants it. So, anyways. Alrighty. That's all I have.
In that case, we want to give a big thank you to everyone here for joining us live on this episode of the Gooplycast, and a big thanks to you if you're listening to our podcast. Look for our replays on YouTube and the podcast version of our episodes on all your favorite podcasting apps, including iHeartRadio. Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook, so that way you'll get notified when we go live with this show. You can join in, and also for when we share new tech-related content. Stay tuned. It sounds like we're going to be talking about our, what was it, Roy? Next
iOS
week?
I
What are we
15
gonna...
wish list.
Next week is our iOS 15 wish list because the week after that is WWDC.
Heck yeah. So please stay tuned for that. I've been your host, Matt Carter. For Matt, Roy, Tim, and Joe, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Gooblycast.